everybody. Happy Mandalorian Season 3 day. Welcome to this spoiler review of Episode 1 of Season 3 of The Mandalorian from the
Geek Buddies.
Hey!
We're back, baby. We're back.
We are. It's been a long wait. Certainly, we got a little bit of the fix there in Book of Boba Fett with 3 episodes. It felt like a Mandalorian half season, kind of like those Captain America movies. Captain America, they're like Avengers 2.5. You know, those kinds of things. Certainly got a little bit of that in Book of Boba Fett, and we are back again with this Episode 1 to launch Season 3, the much anticipated Season 3 of The Mandalorian, of course, coming on the heels of Andor, and which most, what would you say, a lot of people liked Andor, although now discovering more and more people are discovering that series as well. But this is the one that that's become the pop culture zeitgeist for a lot of people in the Star Wars universe over the last few years. So it is back. We're going to break it all down here. This is a spoiler review. So if you haven't watched the episode, go and watch it, then come on back and hang out with us. Or if you don't care about being spoiled, then sit back, relax, have some blue milk, and we'll be getting into everything here in Episode 1 of The Mandalorian of Season 3. But let's introduce ourselves first. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm a television actor and an animation writer where you can see some of our current work right now on Netflix and YouTube with Strawberry Shortcake, Barry in the Big City, Season 2, as well as Season 1.
Has there ever been talked about a berry Grogu? Have you guys ever thought about a baby strawberry shortcake, baby berry? Is there a baby berry, maybe?
We have a baby berry that is a little mischievous, a la Grogu, who has popped up. Yeah.
Honeydew sorbet.
That's the one.
Oh my.
My.
And of course, a big shout out to Carbon Health, who continues to power and sponsor us here into 2023 through the month of March. We appreciate them madly. Head on over to carbonhealth.com. Go get all your healthcare questions, concerns, and needs addressed there virtually or in person. 100 plus locations all over the country, 80 plus locations in California alone. And they're focusing a lot more recently on mental health programs. So they've got those available for you for anybody who's struggling. Look, it's been rainy on the West Coast. You know, rain brings about some of those feelings. So if you're going through something, reach on out to them or download the app to have a doc in your pocket for Carbon Health. All right, let's get into this review here. The Apostate. And let me give you the definition for those who may not know, or maybe you're showing off for your friends that you know, but you really don't. It's a person who renounces a religious or political belief or principle. That's a very interesting title for the first episode here, as we are clearly on this path of redemption for Din Djarin here with the cult, the clan of his Mandalore people here trying to redeem himself. But Apostate is someone who renounces a religious or political belief. So is this a little bit of foreshadowing of what we're going to be seeing by the end of this season? I don't know, but an interesting title for Episode 1. Michael, your overall thoughts on this episode? We got so much here with Din Djarin going and saving the clan here, also heading over to Nevarro to talk to Greef Karga. We get some information about what's happened to a couple of our old friends there in the last 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, and then he heads off to see Katan. And of course, we're going to break down everything that happens in between. But what do you think overall of this episode here to start off Season 3?
Guys, feels great. Feels great to be here. I love Andor. Anybody who watched our Andor reviews knows that I loved Andor. I loved a deeper dive into the politics and sort of grown-up Star Wars, but Mandalorian is straight down the line Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars, guys. You got you got giant space aliens, you've got pirates, you've got battles through an asteroid field, you've got travel to multiple planets, you've got hyperspace, you've got Jedi powers. This is everything you want.
Space whales, Mikey. Space whales.
We'll get to the space whales. When I tell you that I screamed at those space whales, guys, those things are important. We'll get to it. But no, I just think that it feels great. And if you are a Clone Wars fan, a Star Wars Rebels fan, this is just everything you loved in animation brought to life in live action. It is fascinating to me how Filoni, through Clone Wars and Rebels and now with Mandalorian, has taken Mandalore and the Mandalorians and this epic story of Duchess Satine and Bo-Katan and the Darksaber and all of these things, and has made it mainline Star Wars. Like, this is what Star Wars is now. And none of this, look, this all started with Boba Fett flying around and then falling into the Sarlacc pit in his Mandalorian armor, and that was all we got. And now it is this entire history backstory. It's going to drive us into the future of Star Wars. Like, I was so happy this morning, I can't even tell you.
All right, Shannon, what are your feelings coming out of season 1? Episode 1? Do you share Michael's points of views about being super happy to having all of this back, or was this a little bit of a kind of a disappointing start to season 3?
I wouldn't call it a disappointment. I do wish that maybe they had released the first 2 episodes, because we get to the end and it just kind of stops. That being said, I mean, this does feel like original trilogy Star Wars. I mean, you see all of the Kowakian monkey lizards hanging up in the tree. Right. You see how Nevarro has changed. I mean, you get a run in with some space pirates. So yeah, I mean, like, from the beginning, I had a smile on my face the whole time. Like, I like that they are incorporating, even though I didn't love the sequel trilogy, I love that they're incorporating aspects of it in a particularly beloved character. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was a solid start. I wish we had gone just a little bit further. But yeah, it was a totally solid start. And you forget, because we've been so into The Last of Us and how those episodes are so epic, and how this one just ends. I'm like, what time is it? Like, I feel like it literally just started. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a good forecast for what we're going to get this season, even if I would have liked just a little bit more.
Yeah, I have to say, I loved the first episode, and it just kind of showed you how much Star Wars has expanded. You know what I'm saying? We had references to the original trilogy stuff, references to the sequel trilogy stuff, prequel trilogy stuff, the Clone Wars, Rebels. Like, there was so much involved here in just one episode. And that tells you how much this universe has really been fleshed out by numerous creators over the decades here. So we can get an episode like this that just kind of calmly references things, calmly has things, universes, different aspects of different approaches to Star Wars slamming into themselves and being seamlessly woven into an episode. I really enjoyed it. And look, it's nice to have Din Djarin and Grogu back again. And there's no, like, I got to deposit you here, I got to get rid of you here. This is very much a companionship now. Stuff with, if you haven't seen the Book of Boba Fett, I think it's essential to see those 3 episodes so you can understand why he's back, why they're together, and why their companionship now is very much solidified, so much so that they're just a twosome going through this thing. They're lone wolf and cub 100% now, where it was kind of maybe in the first 2 seasons a little bit like, well, I've got a mission, blah, blah, blah. Now they're very much solidified with each other. It's nice to see that. And it does feel like they've hit their stride here right off the bat in this first episode of understanding what they know the public wants and what they want to tell with this story. So I really, really enjoyed that overall. Yeah. And I like the way they handled things in terms of, certain characters not being there. So we'll get into it. But this one's directed by Rick Famuyiwa and written by Jon Favreau here. Rick is also one of the executive producers this season. So I think we're seeing a little bit of his influence here right off the bat in the first episode. So we're going to dive into it here. And we open on Concordia with a young member of the cult. Oh, not cult. I'm sorry. The clan or cult, depending on your perspective here, taking his vows there with the Mandalore. The armor is there, crafting Beskar armor, a helmet for him. We see the skull of the Mandalorian mythosaur on the wall. There's also a lot of Mandalorians here once she walks out of the cave. So maybe either their ranks are growing or Moff Gideon didn't kill as many as we had thought in the previous seasons. We also see a banner outside with the insignia of Clan Vizsla, which is a prominent Mandalorian clan in Star Wars history. We're going through this ceremony here. We see Paz Vizsla is there as well. So certainly that's not done and over with between Din and him. Then a vicious beast emerges from the depths of the water here, essentially like a prehistoric crocodile or alligator type of thing, starts eating these Mandalorians one by one. And they do their best to fight him off, but they can't get the best of them. And we see all of them being overpowered here. Is this a little bit of symbolism. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it. But Din Djarin shows up in his fancy new Naboo starfighter. Well, new is relative. For those of you who didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, that's where he got the ship, shoots that damn thing, saves everybody there. And later we see him sitting down with the armor, talking, and she's basically like, it's cool that you saved us and all, but you still took off your helmet, so you're no longer part of this clan. He is like, well, I'll do what it takes to get back in the clan in their good graces by bathing in the waters of the mines of Mandalore, which for those of you who are Purple Rain fans, that sometimes you gotta get into the Lake Minnetonka here. Doesn't hurt that Grogu uses his best Puss in Boots eyes and gurgles to convince the armorer to let Din go and bathe himself in the waters of the mines of Mandalore. Also, it's interesting. They have a discussion about the destruction of Mandalore, which I was reading a couple of reviews here, say that it canonizes a Legends concept known as, quote, glassing. In the old extended universe, the Empire tended to conduct orbital bombardment on an entire planet to render it uninhabitable, described as glassing because the heat and pressure of the turbo laser fire crystallized the surface. Din shows the armor a crystallized shard referencing the Empire's act of genocide, which suggests it has not been successful because the crystal is fused to the Mandalorian inscriptions. This should be impossible, suggesting Mandalore may be recoverable. So an interesting beginning here overall for this episode, and having this glassing concept. By the way, shout out to Screen Rant, who I'm taking that from. This glassing concept now becoming canon once again, fleshing out the universe even more by bringing in stuff from the old extended universe. So we'll stop here, and then we'll get to Nevarro, and then we'll end with the stuff with Bo-Katan. So, Michael, your thoughts here on this opening sequence here, what we got with all these Mandalorians, with the armor, with the new kid being inducted, their ranks seem to be growing, this beast, and then the conversation between the armorer and Din.
Well, question, do we know for sure that it's Concordia? Like, is that where they, like, do we know that's where they are?
I read that in a couple of reviews, so I'm just.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah.
They never said it, so I didn't know for sure. But yeah, in Clone Wars, Mandalore, Concordia is one of the moons of Mandalore, and that's where Death Watch was, which is kind of like the bad Mandalorians for the Clone Wars. So, and Death Watch ended up working with Darth Maul, and there was all this stuff. But a lot of people have surmised that the clan that Din Djarin is a part of is sort of the evolution of Death Watch. And so if they are on Concordia, which it did look similar to the way it looked in Clone Wars, that seems like a pretty big indicator. And even seeing like the Clan Vizsla banners and everything, like it kind of feels like that all is leading towards us kind of filling in some of the gaps between Clone Wars animated and Mandalorian. Yeah. But all that being said, man, they open with a bang. Like, they open with a bang. I think they sort of set you up to think that perhaps we were watching a flashback and that we saw like young Din Djarin. So that's and then you have that giant, crocotortoise come out of the water and attack everybody, and like it is just them being like, guys, it's season 3, we're one of the most popular shows on Disney Plus, and we got a budget. This did not look like it was on the volume. This looked epic and outdoors and amazing. And I was even thinking, like, in Mandalorian season 1, when we do see some Mandalorians come down on their jetpacks, like they looked cool.
Yeah.
But they didn't look like these Mandalorian. Like, these guys shot off into the sky and you were like, oh, we are in it. Like, this is so like opening up in this whole epic battle, great. And then just to have that Naboo N1 starfighter fly in, man, I love that ship. And it's just such a great entrance for Mando. And then Grogu pops out and it's like, we're back. Like, it's like literally they were like, hey, what's up? You miss us? We're back, baby. We're back. And then, yeah, look, I think that I'm just so jazzed about seeing all of this Mandalore stuff unfold in real life. So the entire conversation between Din and the Armorer about what he needs to do, about the fact that like nobody thinks that you can even go to Mandalore because it all has been sort of glassed by the Empire's bombardment and it's been through so much, and that we're going to be kind of going back to all of this and picking up the pieces. Because again, and this is going to be probably throughout this season, I'll just keep referencing back, but like to go from seeing Mandalore in the Clone Wars when Duchess Satine, who's Bo-Katan's sister, had kind of turned it into a pacifist planet, and you had all these giant domes where they lived because in their warrior past, they had already made the planet uninhabitable. and then to go to Rebels, where we sort of picked it up with the Empire sort of on Mandalore, and Bo-Katan ultimately sort of getting the Darksaber and trying to like save everybody.
Yeah.
And now we're going to see what happened after the Purge. Like Dave Filoni has been telling this story for years and years and years. And if you are only a live action Star Wars fan, you're kind of picking up on the tail end. So I highly recommend going back and watching all of this. But yeah, so like kind of just setting up the season where we kind of left off in Book of Boba Fett, which is, hey, you got to go to Mandalore. You got to go chill in the water. Then maybe we'll let you back into our cult. You're like, okay, got it. I get what the season is. I'm on board.
Yeah, it's either a redemption quest or a separation quest. I think we're going to find out, obviously, as the season goes along. But it's going to be very, very interesting.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but like you have two very distinct things. You have Din Djarin on the outs with the Armorer and his clan, which is sort of probably tied back to Death Watch. And you kind of have Din Djarin on the outs with Bo-Katan, who represents sort of mainline Mandalore because she's still pissed about the Darksaber. So you've got two factions of Mandalore, of Mandalorians that have sort of, their division has sort of ravaged Mandalore itself. And you have Din Djarin in the middle tied to both of them. So I think our buddy is going to be reuniting a bunch of people by the end of the season.
Let's hope so. I mean, it's tough when you have a planet full of alphas. It's real tough to navigate stuff. Shannon, your thoughts here on this opening all up until they have the conversation here between Din and the armor.
I think they looked at the premiere of season 2 in that incredible sequence with the crate dragon. And it's like, what could make this worse? Have it come out of the water. The whole sequence was a lot of fun. Yeah. I do like the idea that, like, I wonder how long they've been on this moon because it's like, guys, did anybody look in the water? Yeah. Maybe from now on with our ceremonies, we don't do them on the beach next to the gator turtle infested, lake. But the entire sequence was just a lot of fun. I agree with Vogel, like seeing the Mandalorians take off into the air. I do question some of their tactics, that they put a bunch of charges on the thing and it doesn't hurt it. And like, you know what, let's hit it with the cables. That seemed like a poor sequence of battle choices. But watching Din come in, I mean, I was really surprised they went as gory as they did, even though they did do that with the crate dragon after he launches, I don't think they were photon torpedoes, but it's a couple of blaster shots that you see just the guts and the entrails go everywhere. A character that or rather a performer that we don't talk a lot about is Emily Swallow, who plays the Armorer. And we don't know a ton about the character. We know that she's sort of the de facto leader of Children of the Watch, or the Watch, or whatever it's called. But she's such a again, we were talking about in The Last of Us, essentially acting with a mask on, the way Bella Ramsey did that, just an incredible job in that last episode, even though she's wearing a mask. And I got to say, I think Emily Swallow as well does a really, really great job. Like, there is a stillness that you are still reading the emotions. Mm-hmm. So Emily is someone that I got to work with a few years ago, and she is just a delightful person, but also incredibly, incredibly good. Like, even though the whole idea that they can't go back to the planet, and then you see Din Djarin take out that piece of material and put it down, be like, all right, so we're doing this. Yeah. So just a solid opening. Even though I feel like maybe the Vizslas need to work on their battle coordination.
Wesley Kimmel is the name of the actor who plays the young kid there. Ragnar is the guy's name. So what role is that going to play? It's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out. But I agree with you, Shannon, with Emily Swallow. Everyone falls all over themselves to love Pedro Pascal's work. And of course, it deserves all kinds of accolades here in The Mandalorian. But certainly Emily Swallow has given it just as good of a performance throughout the 3 seasons. And certainly here, her back and forth with Grogu was real interesting to explore, because she does the look and she has the interaction with him without saying anything. And you can tell kind of just by the physical body movements, what's going on there. So just a real interesting performance, and also with how she's speaking about everything as well. So I thought that was great to see. Yeah, I liked it. I liked this opening. It was so surprising. I thought we were going to flashback to Din, but it wasn't. That we realized, okay, they're all here. I love the opening and the whole slant, creating the armor, just seeing the badassery of all of that. But then this phenomenally large, scary creature. That's about 4th or 5th on my list of scary things is crocodiles or gators. Absolutely. Just saw one, attack of 85-year-old woman in Florida who was walking her dog. It was pretty scary to see that. So those things are nothing. And the fact that they had it roll like a gator or a croc would.
The death roll.
Genius. The death roll was genius. I was like, oh, that's perfect. But you're right, Shannon. I mean, some of the tactics you have to question. So they're still kind of figuring out. They do attack together. They do have their strategy.
You know what, you two, I like to see you get attacked by a giant crocotortoise and see you make informed decisions. When that shit happens,
I'm trained.
You just do what you can do.
I was trained to do it for 8 years, Mike. I think I can handle a crocotor, maybe. But no, I hear you. You're right.
Johnny,
we'll probably lose our shit running the cave.
Johnny, I love you, but we all know what you're going to do if you see a crocotortoise.
Yes, I will toss you in and run. Take him! Like George. Fire! But yeah, but great stuff here to open, and the conversation is very interesting too, because I wasn't sure of the glassing concept, and then doing some more research on it, I was like, oh, this is a fascinating thing to throw into Star Wars and have it now be a part of this and be a part of canon, to explore that and have conversations about that, further fleshing out the Empire, as if we haven't seen already enough of what the Empire can do. Now we're adding even more within the canon that they've constructed here of what the Empire can do in their viciousness and how they impact these planets when they take them over or when they bomb them out. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll jump into everything going on in Nevarro right after this.
There it is.
I'd fight the crocotor. You cut it out. I'd fight the crocotor.
You would listen. You'd fight everybody. You'd fight everybody to get away faster from the crocotor.
Get out of here. Come on. Protect my people. All right. Anyway, Din heads off to Nevarro to reunite with Greef. Karga, Carl Weathers, who is now the High Magistrate, and wants to make sure everybody knows he's the High Magistrate.
The High Magistrate.
That's what I'm saying, the High Magistrate. How about those robes? I haven't seen robes that good on Carl Weathers since the first Rocky movie. So it's great to see him walking around, having those little droids carrying his, almost like a wedding dress, carrying his train behind him, is pretty awesome here. The city is different. Nevarro is different. It's more vibrant. There's trade going on. People are laughing and having fun. As you mentioned, Shannon, the Kowakian monkey lizards are not in their cages like they were in season 1. They're hanging out in the trees, being cool with things. And we have a great, a great meeting between the both of them, Din and Greef. And Greef informs him about what's going on in the city. Also lets him know that Cara Dune got recruited by special forces, and that Moff Gideon is facing a New Republic war tribunal for his crimes. Yeah, something's really going to happen to Moff Gideon. But later in his office, he tries to recruit Mando to be his marshal, to take Cara Dune's place, and he even offers Mando huge tracts of land to settle on with Grogu, so he can be essentially a father and son situation going on there. But Mando says he's got other priorities. We see Grogu casually using the Force to get some snacks here, so certainly he's becoming more and more comfortable with that. Din wants to revive IG-11, who we see there in statue form very nobly in the square there, which shows how far he's come, in my opinion, from his hatred of droids, him wanting to revive this droid because he wants the droid to help him go to the mines of Mandalore and kind of navigate everything there, so to keep him away from danger. Greef eventually, he relents and lets him have IG-11. Mando puts him back together, turns him on, and he starts to try to kill Grogu, because that was his last command there before they had kind of changed him around. They eventually subdue it thanks to another droid there, and Greef takes Din and IG-11's parts to the Anzellans, and we have a very funny scene with them. They say they can't fix it without a memory unit, which Din offers to get, but Grogu has other plans for the Anzellans, which is cute and funny, tries to grab them. I don't know if he's going to eat them or grab them, take them home, but bad baby indeed. And Greef, we have this funny thing where Greef is translating initially for Mando because he didn't kind of understand what they're saying. But then Mando eventually gets it, but Greef keeps translating, which I think is hilarious. And what you can do with a helmet look is just great in this show for sure. And I'm going to assume that's Shirley Henderson, who voiced Babu Frick in the Rise of Skywalker. I think she's the one back to voice the Azellans, but very funny sequence with them for sure. Bad memory, can't fix, all that kind of stuff going on. So Din's going to go get this memory unit. Later, some pirates show up, led by a guy appropriately named Vane, who is of the Nikto species. There's also a Trandoshan, a Klatooinian, a Mon Calamari, all there in his crew. After some back and forth about Greef's unsavory past, which he'd like everyone to forget, like most politicians nowadays, Vane tries to use the Gorian shard card, saying his boss, mentioning his boss, but none of that works on Greef. And then there's a standoff between the two of them, and bang, Greef gets the best of him, shoots the weapon out of his hand. But then the other guys want to get involved here, and Mando and Greef shoot them all except for Vane, who runs away. But Din eventually heads off to go and seek the help from Bo-Katan. And so we'll stop there. So that's pretty much what happens here all the way up until he leaves Nevarro. So Shannon, I go to you first. What do you think of the whole sequence that happened here on Nevarro? More vibrant planet, the stuff with him and Greef, the standoff, but also the stuff with the Anzellans and IG-11 and all of this. What's your feeling about this entire sequence?
Well, I mean, even though they do go to Nevarro in season 2, I mean, this just felt like a coming home, and a big part of that is that statue to IG-11. I mean, just seeing how Nevarro has grown and has prospered. Like, when we go to Nevarro in season 1, I mean, it is just mud roads and overcast and doesn't look welcoming at all. Now they've got trees. They've got the quacking monkey lizards hanging out in the trees. They're no longer being barbecued over a flame on a spit. Yeah. But just that moment that you see Din kind of look at that statue of IG-11, you see that, like, he's looking at an old friend, and like I did not
Yoda too, Grogu too. Grogu looking.
Oh yeah, it says you remember your old friend here, and I took note of the train carrying droids as well, John. I thought that's such a fun little. That's just a fun little production design, because I cannot think that they wrote that in the script, but some production designers like, what would be funny? like he's so highfalutin now. He's got this cape that's too long, and he's got 2 droids carrying the ends of it. Yeah. And you see that Greef wants him back. Like, look, you don't have to. If you've completed all your missions, come back. Like, we've got a nice piece of land for you right here. You can hang up your blaster. And then the moment that the pirates show up, not only do we get the old Din back, like I love as he's watching the conversation, he just kind of leans up against that tree.
That's old Western stuff for sure.
Like the old gunfighter. Just like, all right, let's see what happens here. But the moment that Vane suggests to Greef Karga that, like, oh, you've gone soft. Like, this place, you built this bar with money from my boss, and now you turned it into a school. Like, you seem soft, old man. And the moment that Karga gets the draw on him, but doesn't kill him, just chooses to shoot him in the hand, not only displays the fact that he is still a good fighter, but he's also like, I'm not interested in killing you. I'm not going to get anything from killing you. Like, I want you to spread the word. Like, you don't come back here. Right. So that was just a really, really great interplay between them. Them going to meet I did think it was a funny, the reason that maybe Gina Carano has been brought up in the interviews is the fact that they had this line of dialogue in there where it's like, yeah, she's gone. It's a big galaxy. We're never going to see her again. But then going to meet like the other Anzellans, the design of that, it was very Men in Black to me. The fact that it's this tiny little, this tiny little space, which to them is a giant workshop. And you see, Din there, sitting, cross-legged. The whole interplay was just so funny. Is broken. Really, really funny. Was Grogu gonna eat him? Maybe.
I don't know.
It's possible.
I've seen him grab small creatures and eat them. So,
I mean, when they were talking about squeezing, I immediately got, Lenny from Of Mice and Men.
Oh,
Like,
good point.
he's gonna squeeze into it, but that whole bad baby line, like the whole thing was just so funny. And another great thing about the whole sequence is the torso of IG-11. I mean, that's full on Terminator right there. Like the thing that just will not stop until it has completed its mission, which in this case was killing Grogu. So yeah, the whole sequence on Nevarro was just it was just a lot of fun, and I'd be curious because that again looks like a lot of sets there. It looks like they didn't really use the volume. So I love the fact, like, even though the volume is incredible technology, the fact that they are leaning into the more practical elements, like it's really fun to see.
Yeah, it's a good mix of practical elements and the volume, which I think worked really, really well for this episode. Mike, what do you think of what happened here on Nevarro? And what do you think about Din wanting to revive IG-11? Are there no other droids? I mean, is this because he's the only one he trusts because of his past issue with droids? So he's like, this one I know I can work with. What do you think about all of that?
Well, before we get to that, I think that I'm upset that you skipped the whales.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the whales yet because we're not in space. He sees the whales when he goes to.
I thought he saw the whales when he left Concordia on the way to Nevarro.
Did he? Okay.
I think so.
Go ahead.
Because by the time when they leave Nevarro, they get attacked by pirates.
Yeah, right. We haven't left Nevarro though yet. It's like the ending. I stopped right before we left Nevarro.
Shannon.
But that takes place beforehand. It's the journey from Concordia to Nevarro. To Nevarro, when they're going to Nevarro, that's where they see.
I thought it was from Nevarro to.
So let's talk about space whales.
No, sure. Let's talk about space whales.
Because this is
the Purgils, if you will.
The Purgils, yes. Yeah, so like if you're watching this and you never watch Rebels, you're probably like, what the fuck is going on? But like when they're going through hyperspace and Grogu is staring at those outlines, that's huge. And I'm sure it's going to tie in when we get to the Ahsoka series, because Purgils are giant space whales that can travel through hyperspace, that maybe even helped people long ago discover hyperspace.
Yeah.
And they're a big part of Rebels. Ezra Bridger uses the whales to get rid of Grand Admiral Thrawn, who we know from season 2 of Mandalorian. Ahsoka is still searching for Thrawn so that she can find Ezra. We know Ezra Bridger's been cast in the Ahsoka series. So yeah, this is like a giant, it's an Easter egg for Star Wars fans, but bigger than that, it's probably like a sign that this is another thing from the animated series that we're going to be diving into. So I think it's definitely worth mentioning. And also, it just looked really cool. I think hyperspace is neat, and we all love seeing like hyperspace in Star Wars, but having Grogu take a moment to sort of look in wonderment at hyperspace and then see that, like, it's just something we haven't really seen in Star Wars. So I think Mandalorian does such a nice job of taking stuff that we know as part of the Star Wars canon, but giving us something a little bit different, giving us something we haven't seen in live action before, giving us some new element to explore. So I think it's definitely worth mentioning. As far as Nevarro goes,
you know what? I just checked it out on Disney Plus. You're absolutely right, Mike. We did see the space whales. So I just want to clarify that you're correct on that. All right, fine.
Carbon Health wins again, baby.
Anyway, Nevarro, go ahead.
The thing that the thing that I like about Nevarro a lot through season 1, 2, and now in season 3 is Nevarro really represents what's happening to the galaxy post the Empire. In season 1, the Empire was still tooling around Nevarro a little bit. Like you really saw the Empire's influence both in like how the Outer Rim had been sort of decimated and was kind of a no man's land, and just watching what has happened, what Greef Karga has done. You're seeing this place kind of grow and flourish. Yeah. And also, I think worth mentioning, in addition to the fact that we very quickly moved on from Cara Dune, the fact that, you know, even when Din is like, why don't you request a marshal from the New Republic? And the Greef Karga doesn't want anything to do with the New Republic. Like out on the Outer Rim, they're pretty far away from like the new government and the rise of everything. And they're kind of doing their own thing, and they're happy to do their own thing. And so I think that's all really interesting as far as like the politics of a galaxy far, far away. And the thing that I thought was really interesting is mentioning that Moff Gideon is going before a New Republic War Tribunal, because that is kind of a tie into what we know of the new trilogy. Just that kind of the New Republic, for reasons that only J.J. Abrams can answer, decided to kind of let a lot of the Empire off the hook and go away and do their own thing and kind of let them go. So big chance that Moff Gideon is going to go before this war tribunal and get a slap on the wrist and come back to bother everybody again. So I think, tying into those things is kind of fun. As far as IG-88 goes, I think it kind of does show how far Din has come in his dislike of droids, but it also shows how far he hasn't come. Like the fact that he would rather take down the statue and rebuild the droid than just get yourself an astromech, man. Like get yourself, there's a bunch of droids rolling around Nevarro. He's like, no, I want this one. So I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, just as far as, and then just the pirates were great because I love Star Wars pirates.
Yeah.
Like you got, Star Wars, you got your Jedi, you got your bounty hunters, you got your space pirates, like you're good to go. So just kind of having a bunch of pirates tooling around, and then just this new pirate king, what's his name?
Gorian Shard.
Gorian Shard, which is just such a great Star Wars name.
Yeah.
It's all just a lot of fun. So Nevarro was just veritable Easter egg of Star Wars characters and droids and aliens that just made you feel back at home.
Yeah, it was great to see the Purgle. So, I apologize for not bringing them up earlier, but that just made me smile. Like, oh, wow. So they're weaving in some Rebel stuff here. That's really interesting. Wasn't my favorite episode. I know a lot of people love that episode. It wasn't my favorite episode, but because I also think Space Whales and I think Star Trek 6, that's what,
Star Trek 4.
Star Trek 4. So we've seen the combo of that in here in Star Wars. I thought it was a little weird to have it in Rebels, but it works for what it is. But seeing it the way and seeing Grogu's reaction to it, I think was great as well. Seeing how the wonder of it all to him as he's watching the Space Whales, I think was really great. So amidst all the madness, there are still moments of beauty within the Star Wars universe that I think it was really nice to take a moment to see it through Grogu's eyes, which I thought was sweet. Did you want to say anything about the Space Whales, Shannon? Because I know you talked about the other stuff.
No, those things were way more in Vogel's wheelhouse. I was just like, oh, the Space Whales. I couldn't remember what they were called, but someone had tweeted out like at minute 11 when blank pops up. Yeah. And for a second, I thought it was going to be Amy Sedaris. I'm like, not in the first episode.
Not Peli Mono.
So seeing the silhouette of the Purgles, I was like, hey, all right, yeah, that's good. That's good.
I will say this about stuff in Nevarro. Greef it's cool, but Greef is an interesting character because, of course, the fact that he wants to be called the High Magistrate, that speaks to a certain level of insecurity that he needs to have people address him in a certain way. But also him wanting Mando to stay and be a marshal. He wasn't telling him to hang up his guns. He was just telling him to stop being a bounty hunter and come work for me. Keep your guns with you. Come work for me as my marshal. So, Greef, as cool as he is, Greef is always is also a person who uses people for what he needs to get stuff done. Now, is it nice that he's got a vibrant society here, a school? He's turned the bar into a school. All of that is nice, but he's still Greef Karga, as he shows you with those pirates. So there's still some unsavory stuff because even Vane says, you used to pay us to commit mayhem and murder and bloodshed in this bar. So for you to act all sanctimonious is a little hypocritical. So I like that they didn't let Greef Karga off the hook 100%.
That's interesting that you say that. Like I didn't think about this because he does say at the beginning, hang up your blaster. He buried the
don't
lead.
Be a bounty hunter anymore or don't go to missions. But
I'm saying he buried the lead.
Yeah, well, fair.
He
Yeah.
wanted Din to be like, hey, you can have this great place by the hot springs.
Right.
Also, we might need a
exactly.
marshal.
Yeah, that's Greef. Feels like a producer. Oh yeah, but also if you could, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I like that. It gives him a much more three-dimensional approach to things rather than just being he's his friend. He's also any questions. Like I thought the last time I saw you, you were supposed to deposit this creature. Now he's hanging out, spinning around in my chair. What's the deal here? So I like that he's a little bit of us. So this is the audience asking these questions, but also we're getting a little more of a fleshed out Greef Karga that could go either way. Depending on the situation, if it's Mando or the existence of Nevarro, I got a feeling he'll trade Mando for like Lando did with Han there on Cloud City. Dare I say it, Bespin? he traded him in, and so it could be interesting if that's something that comes up
Well,
down the road.
It's interesting that you bring that up because Greef Karga really is following in those Lando footsteps. Like Lando was a con man who kind of landed in Bespin and turned it into a thriving, like Bespin was thriving until the Empire showed up, and he did indeed sell out his friends to kind of keep Bespin. And so Greef Karga kind of coming in, having a little bit more of a checkered past, just like Lando did, but stepping into this role as leader that he does really well. I mean, like he, by any stretch, he has done a great job being the magistrate and now the High Magistrate of Nevarro. But yeah, he's you're always just like, do I trust you 100%?
Exactly.
I don't quite know.
Yeah.
And
I'd like to see those city council meetings with him. Yeah, but go ahead, Shannon.
Well, no, I was going to say, and the final connection between the two, Cape.
Yeah.
Gotta love a cape.
Good point.
Star Wars capes.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump off Nevarro and head to see Bo-Katan right after this.
Bum ba da da, ba da 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 da, da 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 da.
That's good. I like it. That's good. All right, where do we leave off at here? Oh, okay. So let's see. Din eventually heads off to seek help from Bo-Katan, but on his way, he encounters Vane again and the pirates here in their ships, and he's like, "You think you can kill 4 of my buddies and get away with it? Not in my watch, son." He shoots all of them out of the sky in another asteroid belt space fight there that we've seen, of course, in numerous movies in Star Wars, and he doesn't kill Vane, who ends up leading him to Gorian Shard's ship, and we see Gorian Shard, who is played by Nonso Anozie, who's a British actor. You guys might have seen him in Game of Thrones and in Sweet Tooth recently. Really awesome actor. I've seen him in a million things. A fantastic British actor. He wants to shoot Mando out of the sky and tells them to point the guns at him. Is going to get him. Then Mando hits that blaster thing he turns into Fast and Furious. He hits the Nox, and he is out of there. It's into overdrive and takes off. But you say space pirates, and my mind goes to Hondo. Are we getting, who's probably retired on Batuu somewhere, but are we getting a live-action Hondo coming in some way in this series? I would lose my mind if that happened. So anyway, he lands on the planet Kavelala. I hope I'm saying that right. Homeworld of the House Kreese, and heads into Bo-Katan's castle. She is sitting on that throne like I have no fucks to give, but I'm hot and sexy as hell. Queen sitting there, and she ain't too happy to see him. Tells him that all her forces went away or bled away when she didn't come back with that thing on your hip there, the dark saber. She tells him, she says, "I don't want to help you or anything like that, but I'll tell you where the fabled mines of Mandal are, even though I think you're in a cult and I think this stuff is bullshit. It's all a myth." And she reveals that they lie, these mines of Mandalore lie beneath the civic center in the city of Sundari, which was once the capital city of Mandalore, which was featured in Clone Wars. And then he walks out of the castle without her, and we go to Black Frame. So, Michael, interesting stuff in space with asteroid belt fights. The Captain Gorian Shard there showing up, and then the stuff with Bo-Katan. What are your thoughts as we end episode 1 of season 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think this pirate battle in the asteroid belt, again, just shows how much of a budget they got in season 3. Like, we saw some pretty cool space stuff in season 1, but this is on par with anything you've seen in Star Wars. And watching him zip around those asteroids in that Naboo fighter and take out those pirates one by one, and then just kind of coming around the asteroid and revealing Gorian Shard's giant ship, like, this was Star Wars. And it felt great. And even like Gorian Shard, it's always great. I love, having like the Trandoshan and the Nikto and the Quarren as part of the pirates. But whenever you get like a brand new alien in Star Wars, you're like, oh, all right, add him to the list. And I don't know what Gorian Shard is, but he looks cool.
Yeah.
He's just, it's a great character design. It's a lot of fun. And I'm sure we've not seen the last of Gorian Shard.
No.
But yeah, you are right. Yes. Anytime you see space pirates, thanks to Clone Wars and Rebels and Smuggler's Run, at Galaxy's Edge, Hondo is not far from the mine. So I would love it. Yeah. We know, look, based on based on the timeline of theme park attractions, Hondo is definitely around doing something. So if he showed up in live action, I would also be thrilled. But yeah, so it was just a ton of fun, and it just has that sort of, again, not to say anything bad about Andor, because I can't say anything. I can only talk about how great Andor was, but the fun of like an alien space battle and just zipping around and like the pirate guy who's going to be like, I'm going to get you, and then like taking off to get away. Like Andor was dealing with such heavier stuff that you didn't always get a chance to be like, let's just zip around and have some fun. And Mando definitely scratches that itch a little bit more.
Sure.
I love Bo-Katan.
Oh my God.
I love Bo-Katan Kryze. I've loved her throughout all of her appearances in Star Wars, and kind of picking her up here is so awesome, but also just so tragic and sad, particularly if you'd have kind of watched her go from being a member of Death Watch to sort of fighting with Ahsoka, working with Ahsoka to take down Darth Maul, to seeing her in Rebels, getting the Darksaber from Sabine. Like, she just has gone on this journey and has just tried to do right ever since her sister was killed by Darth Maul. And to see her here, just like, I don't give a shit. I didn't get the Darksaber. You have the Darksaber. Everybody left. I literally have nothing. It's your fucking fault, and you're part of a cult, and fuck you, and fuck them, and fuck everybody, and nobody's cool. Like, that's where she's at right now.
Let me tell you something. If you come home to your significant other and she is sitting like this, it's over. Just start packing the bags and get the hell out of the house for sure.
And like I said earlier, you know, Din Djarin, and again, this is just like classic Star Wars, taking this person that was, you know, in Star Wars, it was Luke Skywalker. He was just a little moisture farmer off on Tatooine. And Din Djarin was just a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
He was just a bounty hunter doing his thing. And he has stumbled into, you know, basically raising this Jedi Mandalorian and having the Darksaber and the potential to unite all of Mandalore. And it's nothing that he wants. Like, this is not, he doesn't particularly want this responsibility, but he's got the Darksaber. And I just love how dismissive Bo-Katan was when she was like, you do it. Take that little sword, wave it around, and everybody will do whatever you say. Like, she is so bitter that she doesn't have that thing. And just seeing what happens with her is going to be fascinating. So, you know, you've got Din in the middle, you got the armorer over here, you've got Bo-Katan over here, and you've got Din just being like, I'm gonna go chill in the waters of Mandalore, and then let's all catch up and see what's going on. I don't know. Like, I think that was like the final big Easter egg of the episode, was her saying that the mines are beneath the Civic Center in Sundari, which, like I said, is where basically everything on Mandalore happened in Clone Wars. Like, so if you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of reuniting with Duchess Satine, Darth Maul and Savage Opress kind of taking over, Darth Maul and Ahsoka having their epic battle. Like, all of this happened in Sundari. So, you know, tune in the next couple of weeks when he gets to the ruins of this city that we've seen a bunch of times in Clone Wars. And you're going to have a bunch of geeks squealing in just pure Star Wars excitement.
Shannon, your thoughts on this section of the show here as we wrap up episode 1 of season 3?
Yeah, a battle around an asteroid belt, always a lot of fun. Getting to see not only is Din Djarin just a better pirate than these kind of, you know, pirate thugs, but also the superiority of his Din 1 Starcraft. But also how Vane, not entirely an idiot. Like, he is.
Oh no, he's not.
Like, he's just like, let me get you in front of the giant ship, and then you see all the gunners, like everything, bah, bah, bah. And even Den's just kind of like, in any normal circumstance, if I were in the Razor Crest, we would be, you know, SOL right now.
You're right.
Also thought the design of Gorian Shard, which again, Gorian, like, I love coming up with Star Wars names. Gorian Shard is just the Pirate King Gorian Shard. What a great title and name. But also the design, like he looks like an evil Groot / Swamp Thing. And his delivery was just a couple shades away from Bill Nye in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And I say that with all love and compliments. I'm like, that is I love the fact that he is a literal pirate. He's got a cane. You see, he's got that limp. He's got kind of a weird leafy beard. I was like, oh, this is a great character. And then in the credits, it surprised me that Nonzo Anazi was not in the main credits along with KATEE Sackhoff, because he's a big time actor.
Yeah, he's a known
and just the fact that they got him for this, it's like, okay, yeah, that character is absolutely coming back. You don't get him for one scene and write him off. So knowing that these pirates are going to be on Din's tail as well, we can just think of like the incredible action potential of being on a crystallized planet, running from pirates who probably don't have a whole lot of care nor concern about what happens, not just for the Din's well-being, but also their own, not realizing like, hey, maybe we shouldn't shoot crystallized ground. We're all gonna die. So I thought the space battle was just a lot of fun. Again, great original trilogy, Star Wars fun. And then getting to that castle and seeing the isolation that Bo-Katan is in. The just to your point, what you already said, John, if you come home and see your partner seated like this, you're in trouble. And just the fact that the helmet is right there, like she's ready to leap into action at any time, but at the same time, she is alone, like she is by herself. And to what Vogel was saying, just the dismissiveness of it and how Din is not rattled by it. Like he's still able to kind of play this, not really a mental game of chess. Like there's no strategy here. She's just kind of like, hey buddy, this is the lay of the land. Nobody followed me because I don't have that. Yeah. And he's like, okay, what about the plans? Like, nope, they're wandering the galaxy right now as mercenaries. You want to be in charge? Wave that. They'll follow you. Yeah. And then the whole thing about the waters, the living waters, they're not magical. Right. And he goes, okay, but just a second ago you said the planet was cursed. Which is it? Like I just love that interplay back and forth. So yeah, that was just a really, really well written scene. And again, my only ding on the episode is that it ended. Yeah. I just wanted that second episode. I wanted to get to a not a more satisfying point, but I think they got me teased enough that the moment that they're kind of like, and you can see next week, it's like, well, F off.
It's worth waiting for. It's a good episode. Yeah, I mean, I liked the stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to add too much to what you guys said, but I will throw this in because I agree with every point you guys made here. Gorian Shard, great name, great character. Love that he's going to be part of him. And Vane are definitely going to be coming back, maybe more than once in this season. And it's a nice new antagonist to throw in there that you maybe don't have to fear quite as much, but it's going to be nice to see how they throw a wrench in his plans when he's trying to do things that he's doing that are on a way higher plane. With the Mandalorian situation, he's between these two strong women, as you pointed out here, Mike, the Armor and Bo-Katan, and how is he going to navigate that as he goes through this? And I agree with you, Shannon. He doesn't back down to Bo. He's not like, I'm sorry or anything. He's like, this is the deal. This is going to happen. And she's doing those passive aggressive jabs, and he's like, yeah, I'm not taking a bait on any of that shit. I got to get going. Can you help me or not? And so I like that we get that back and forth. And this is what Bo-Katan has. She has, as much as she feels she should lead and she wants to honor her sister and all that, she also has a bit of a passive-aggressive, petty, whiny kind of side to her that makes her an interesting character when she doesn't get what she wants, sitting there brooding on a throne. That's not the way to handle this situation, but that's how she chooses to handle it. So we'll see. A queen without a kingdom. We'll see how she reacts to the situation down the road here in this season, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from Bo because I really enjoy KATEE Sackhoff in the role, both on camera and behind the mic. Just so good doing what she's doing. But I will throw this in here. I looked up Shard in the Star Wars Wikipedia, and the Shard are a species a silicon-based species. I'm not saying the Gorian shard is this, because I don't think it's canon, but a silicon-based species that is native to the planet Orax. There were shards on Orax lived in large clusters of crystals, which grew among the planet's many hot springs. These colonies consist of hundreds of thousands of individual shards, each connected in a group mind via the natural electromagnetic communication abilities. So you talk about Swamp Thing, you talk about hot springs. I start to make it, and he's green, just like they are in the Wikipedia of Shard. They're green, these shards. So could there be some connection to it? Maybe not, but just throwing it out there, if it does show itself, that there may be something here that they're bringing into canon as well, here as a new character, new species here in the Mandalorian. So excited to see what that ends up being. All right, any final? Oh, I want to say this one thing. The philosophy stuff here, I really like. This beast showing up to disrupt a clan's ritual. What does that mean? Is that a foreshadowing of the thing they're going to have to battle in order to maintain their clan the way they are? Who is the alligator? The symbolism of that alligator down the road, and also Bo-Katan and Din having this conversation. Oh, they won't follow me without the Darksaber, but your stuff is myth. But for me, the saber is real, and so it's all about what you believe that has power, and you as the people give power to these symbols and whether you want to follow them or not. So I like that we're having, which is amongst all the great practical effects and people in costumes and and species and all those cool Star battles, the philosophical stuff, the theological stuff that's going on here as an undercurrent, I really enjoy. And that is also peak Star Wars for me. So I love seeing that. Michael, any final words on the episode?
I mean, like, the episode was great. I agree with Shannon that I wish it was longer. I kind of feel, and I don't know this for sure, but I kind of feel like the budget and the special effects is the trade-off. Like, for us to be able to see a show that looks like a Star Wars movie each week means that we're not getting an hour-long episode.
Good
like,
point.
I think that there's probably a little bit of like, how do we do this budgetarily? I could be wrong, and I'm sure, Disney's obviously ready to spend a ton of money on Star Wars and Mandalorian to get people to watch Disney Plus, but like, I do think there is a limit at some point, and I think for us to be able to see what we're seeing weekly means we get a little bit less than we would like. But all that being said, like, I'm on board for the season, and I think, what's great about this, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, all of these things, like, they fill in those gaps in the Star Wars timeline, that we kind of know what happens. And although we know that this takes place between Jedi and Force Awakens, a lot of this is territory that's unexplored. So not only do I think there's something exciting about this, is just like, I think Mando, Grogu, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka Tano, like, these are the characters that are going to be driving Star Wars into the future. Like, Dave Filoni has somewhere he's going. He knows what he wants to do, and he's the guy that is going to get to decide in large part what the next generation of Star Wars is, and how much of that incorporates Rey and Finn and Poe and the First Order, and how much of that is going to be about Mandalore and these characters that he's creating, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Like, this is everything we're seeing right now is exciting, because this is the groundwork for the next generation of Star Wars fans.
Yeah. I think there's a 10, 20 years down the road, you start looking at Dave Filoni at the same level that you look at George Lucas. It's very possible when you take the entire Star Wars in context and look at how much each has contributed to the overall franchise. Shannon, your final thoughts on this episode?
I mean, basically what I already said is, I just, I wanted more, but I had not considered the budgetary aspect, that we're going to give you more, but we also have to give you less at the same time. But to what you were saying, John, like, I don't normally subscribe to the symbolism in film and TV. It doesn't reach me on that level.
I don't subscribe. It's not my thing.
But what I will say, as you were specifically talking about that opening, how you have this clan or cult, depending on your point of view. That, to me, it's like, okay, what they're doing with their people, what they're doing, indoctrinating these kids, This is against the natural order, and the thing that tries to come in and bust it up is something from nature.
Yeah.
So that was the hey man.
Hey, for a guy who's in trucking it, you did a nice job there. Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot. That was it for 2023.
Well, I also think though that there's something really interesting in the fact of Mandalorians used to be a warrior a race of warriors. Right. That's their history. But throughout all of Clone Wars, Duchess Satine kind of had turned Mandalore into pacifists, which is kind of what led Death Watch to the Moon of Concordia to be like, fuck this pacifism. Yeah. We were warriors. That's who we are. And so there's always, throughout everything that Filoni has done, has been this, what does it mean to be a Mandalorian? Like, what does that mean? And even through Rebels, where they were sort of all scattered into their clans and Sabine sort of reunited them and then gave the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, it was like, well, now we're warriors and now we're going to follow this person. Right. But clearly, even at that point, there was other clans that didn't follow and were more in the Death Watch. So I do think that kind of big picture, there is this kind of question that Star Wars has never fully resolved, which is, what does it mean to be a Mandalorian? Yeah. And Bo-Katan has one opinion of that, and the Armorer has one opinion of that. And in the middle of all of it, like I said, is Din Djarin, who has the thing that everyone will rally behind. And so ultimately, this guy, even in this episode, he's talking to Grogu, and he's like, hey, being a Mandalorian doesn't just mean being a fighter. Right. Being a Mandalorian means this. Being a Mandalorian means this. And I kind of think that little sequence, as much as it's like, yay, cute, he's teaching Grogu, I think the question of what does it mean to be a Mandalorian is not just central to this season and not just central to this series, but kind of central to where Dave Filoni wants to go in a lot of ways, because that's been something that has been unresolved from the moment that he introduced Bo-Katan and her sister. Yeah. And I think it's evolving within Din himself about what it is to be a Mandalorian since he's been going through these adventures, which has been really fun to watch. All right, well, there you go. That's our spoiler review here for episode 1, the Apostate here from The Mandalorian season 3. We appreciate you all hanging out with us, whether you're watching or listening to us, very much. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at Geek_Buddies, on Instagram at _Geek_Buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
If you like talking crocotortoises, space whales, and Kowikian monkeys, what are they called? Whatever. Salacious Crumbs people. We are going to be talking about all of it. This is your place to geek out about Star Wars for the next several weeks, and we are excited to do it with you. And here's what you can do to help us continue to geek out. You can hit that like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, check out all the amazing content he's got there. Leave your comments below. What did you think of this episode? How does this stack up? Where do you think Mando is going? How adorable is Grogu? Let us know below. If you are listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars, leave us some comments. Helps us go up in the rankings so more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it to your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Absolutely. And one final note here. I know some of you may be asking in the comments, where's Laura Kelly? Where's Laura Kelly? Laura has decided to do the reviews for the Jedi Way. So it'll be me and Laura doing the reviews separately from the Geek Buddies. That'll be up tomorrow, her thoughts on episode 1 here. And that'll consistently stay through The Mandalorian until we go to Star Wars Celebration. Then she'll come back and do the finale. So that'll be the approach. So it'll be the 3 of us handling it. We may have a guest or 2 come on as we're doing The Mandalorian, but that's how it's going to be here on the Geek Buddy. So thank you all so much for that. So yeah, pay attention for that going forward. And shout out to Carbon Health, continues to power and sponsor us here on the Geek Buddies. Head on over there for any of your healthcare questions, concerns, or needs at carbonhealth.com, or download the app to have a doc in your pocket. All right. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode or brand new spoiler review here from the
Geek
Buddies.